Well, shooters and reloaders out there, Fortune Cookie 45LC coming to you from the Hot Lead Zone. And this is a video response to Nosmar Flagnard, who asks, he's got a whole bunch of different lead alloys, and he wants to mix 11 pounds of Magnum shot. So you see there, Magnum shot line 33, that's 5% antimony, 11 pounds of that. And he wants to mix that with 1 pound of copper hard. So there's 1 pound of copper hard, which is 37% tin and 12% antimony. And then he's got 44 pounds of range scrap. So you see there on line 27, 44 pounds. And he wants to get BHN 14 air-cooled or 20 BHN water quenched. Well, the problem is if he mixes all that, he's going to get 12.1 BHN hardness air-cooled, and he won't have much tin in there to get good casting. So he doesn't have his BHN 14, and then if you water quench that, there's no assurance that you're going to raise that by 8 BHN to get BHN 20 by water quenching. And Nosmar Flagnard wants hard alloy, but he still wants it malleable and tough at the same time. So BHN 12 is sufficient for target velocity, 38 specials, 45 ACP, that kind of thing. So it's not really that tough, and it's not that hard. It's reasonably hard, but not hard enough for plus P or for magnum loading. However, if that alloy right there at BHN 12 were only fired for a few shots in hunting situations, you could get some good performance with bullet expansion with that alloy, and probably not that much leading because you're only going to fire a few shots. Now, however, even though I don't get myself a lot of BHN increase by water quenching my cast bullets, who knows, maybe Nosmar Flagnard, when he casts his bullets and water quenches them, maybe he gets a lot more BHN. Only testing will find out. And if that's the case, then Nosmar Flagnard, more power to you. You're getting a lot of BHN hardness without having to spend a lot of money for antimony or tin. Now, if Nosmar Flagnard doesn't get his BHN 20 by water quenching, then he can certainly do it by mixing the alloys in a different ratio. So if he drops his 44 pounds of range scrap down to 30 and then uses a whole bar of copper hard, you see, you get your BHN 14 that way, and you get it raw. That's if you air cool your bullets, you'll get the BHN 14. And if you go ahead and do the water quenching, you got maybe a better chance to get your BHN 20 by water quenching with this formula. When I got the comment from Nosmar, the problem that I had was it seemed like he wanted everything. He wanted his cast bullets to be hard, anywhere from BHN 20 or somewhere thereabouts, but he also wanted his alloy, his bullets, to be malleable, which means that they're soft, they're shapeable. Well, how do you get hard and soft? And then he wants his bullets to be tough. So that's a tough combination, to have bullets that are hard and malleable and tough. That's like saying we want our bullets to be hard enough to prevent leading, but we want expansion. Well, with expansion, you need soft for hunting. So where can you get everything? You got to give up something. And that's why the answer to Nosmar Flagnard was hard to do this video. Because how do you get everything? Is it even possible? And with our cast bullets, the answer is actually yes. And that means you've got to have a BHN that's hard enough to allow for no leading shooting, and yet have your accuracy and perhaps have enough softness to still get some expansion with enough feet per second velocity that you might be able to generate, especially with magnum loads. And with a hardness that'll give you penetration and yet still some expansion. So is that possible? And the answer to all that is yes, it requires a compromise BHN. Something that's not too hard, like 20 to 22 is too hard. You can't expect any expansion. It's not going to be malleable. Might be tough, but it won't be malleable and won't get any expansion at that BHN hardness. And if it's too soft, then you don't have any hardness, you get leading. So BHN 10, 11, BHN less than 10, not a good idea. The answer is somewhere around BHN 14 to 18. And we can get that without too much trouble. We'll have an alloy that's hard enough to prevent leading, still give good penetration, and yet get some expansion with magnum velocity shooting especially. It seemed to Nosmar Flagnard that yes, you can have it all. But it requires some very careful work with our alloys and our casting and this kind of thing, and a lot of testing to see if everything works for your particular gun. And that's part of the charm of cast bullets. So Nosmar Flagnard, this particular ratio combination of alloys might very well give you your BHN 14, and when you water quench, might get you closer to BHN 20 than we think. And if not, you could certainly raise your BHN easily to 16 or maybe 18. So there you go. You've got your perfect balance of your BHN to give you everything you want. That's that BHN 14 to 18 range. It's actually doable. Well, speaking of testing, we've always believed and read that if we cast our bullets on the hard side, say BHN 20 to 22, that our bullets will be brittle. They won't hold together. They'll brittle and will break up if they hit bone. And this is not what we want. Well, is that true? We actually see that Lyman recommends using linotype, which is BHN 22 raw, to cast some bullets. Well, if the bullets didn't hold together and were useless because of the brittleness, why would they recommend using linotype? Some of the bullets they recommend linotype for are hunting bullets. So to do my own brittleness testing, I took one of these nice bullets that we cast. By the way, these mic right at 312. Some of them are 314, but that's pretty good miking because they're advertised to be 312 when you cast them. Anyway, this is a Lee mold, and what I did was I took one of these bullets and I went outside and hammered it to see if it would break up and be brittle. So first I stood it up on its base and hammered the nose, expecting the nose to break up. Well, some real good wax on that nose. That alloy is so hard it didn't really deform a whole lot. Had to really whack it hard with a construction hammer. Well, the nose didn't break up. So then I took it and hit the nose from the side and pounded on it. And it's very hard alloy. It didn't break up. So how brittle is this? And when you look at this and you can envision this bullet hitting bone, why would that bullet just break up like we've been reading that
So
would
what's
do?
tougher, this bullet or a piece of bone? I would think this bullet. When you hammer this thing as hard as we had to hammer it, this is pretty tough. Bone would not have stood that. And look at what powder coating has done now. Powder coating has freed us from leading issues and uncoupled us from the hardness in relation to leading. Before we had to have hardness to prevent leading. Now we can deal with hardness according to what we want, not what we have to do to get leading prevention.
Again, only testing will tell. We'd have to go ahead and hunt with this bullet. Now, it's not a very good bullet to hunt with because it's a Spitzer
and it might just slip right through game without making much of a wound at all. So we've got to test it, but perhaps a hollow point would be good. But again, more testing. But as for the brittleness, if breaking up, that may not be a problem. Perhaps some other hunters out there who use cast bullets and cast them pretty hard can chime in on their own experiences on that. Do these bullets break up? The problem is more like the bullets slipping through without making much of a damaging wound. The breakup isn't really the issue. But again, we have to do our own testing. So, Nosmar Flagnard, hope this helps. And you take care. Best to you and good casting to you. Bye for now.